Welcome to Revenue Mavericks, the podcast where today's most iconic GTM leaders break down the mindset and the moves that defy the status quo. In each episode, operators share the playbooks they've used to change the game and deliver outsized growth. And now, here's the host of Revenue Mavericks, CEO and co-founder of Teradata, Justin Schreiber.
Welcome, everyone, to Revenue Mavericks. This is the show where we bring the leaders, the innovators, the people that are breaking the rules with respect to go-to-market and find out what makes them tick and where they are taking the industry. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Evan Randall. He is the head of revenue operations at Teradata. In Evan's own words, he's had a storied career, Tenable, VMware, Tableau. So we're going to have a great conversation, learn a little bit more about Evan's background and also about the kinds of things that he's doing to realize inordinate gains and momentum in the businesses that he leads. So first of all, Evan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Justin. Good to be here.
All right. I always love to start off, get to know the guests a little bit. And the question I ask is, tell us about a formative experience in your life, maybe pre-professional life, that has really shaped you and had a big impact on how you show up at a professional level.
Well, I'd say it'd probably be from my father, just growing up with my dad. My dad, he's a Vietnam War veteran, served 2 tours. When he got back from his tour duty, he went to Harvard Business School and just has always been a businessman, so to speak, his entire life. And so I was able to every evening after he come home from work with a briefcase, no laptop, no cell phone, just his briefcase, I was able to talk to him about his day, right? What he did, like who did he talk to? What did he do, right? Like I can't even fathom that anymore. It's just like a desk with lots of papers and a phone on it, right? That's a lot different than what we do today. But I'd say like just those formative moments were just being able to sit with him and strategize, and he'd tell me what's going on at work and problems he was having and how he was dealing with them. And we were able to just talk it through. And we still do that to this day. It's kind of more in reverse now because he's retired and doing his own thing. But I get to tell him the problems that I have, the challenges that I'm running into. What would he do in this situation? And he's got a very good kind of strategic, business-oriented mind from the many years he's served. And he was never in technology. He was more in he was in the direct selling world, believe it or not, like think Mary Kay and Avon, but not as a person selling the stuff, but at the executive level, helping those companies build out their strategies and their compensation plans. So I had a great mentor in the home.
So did he have the pink Cadillac?
No, but he signed lots of checks for the people that did. So he was a big part of that. And there were some times he'd sign a $1 million check for a lady per month that was selling Mary Kay cosmetics. Yeah, those are the national sales directors back in the day.
It's good work if you can get it. I love it.
I guess so.
So 2 tours. Did the lessons that he learned in the service impact the way that he showed up as a leader on the business front?
I think so. Very young, when he was in his second tour in Vietnam, he was on a artillery gun base in the neutral zone of Vietnam. And since he had already served the tour, he was an older officer. He went to OCS between his 2 tours. And he was a second lieutenant, and he was the highest ranking person on base at about, I think, 20, 21 years old. And he was in command of about 150 to 200 18 and 19-year-olds that ran a forward operating artillery base for, other sorts of, the Marines and the other Army at the front lines that would call in fire missions. And so he had to make, life and death decisions. He had people die on base. He had to call in help, and there was no way in and out of the base other than by a helicopter. They were surrounded by minefields to protect them. So, he just had to deal with stress, and I was able to, nothing really ever stressed him out at work. He was always very calm, and I kind of took after him. It's like, it's not as bad as being in Vietnam in the middle of a war zone, making decisions, right? So it's just work. And so that kind of helped me have my more kind of positive vibes and trying to keep everyone focused on the goal and where we're going as a company, as a team. And there's no reason to get wrapped around the axle and bad things, right? Like there's so many more worse places you can be.
It's interesting you mentioned that. We've known each other for a while, Evan, and you are unflappable. You always got a smile on your face. You're positive. You're rolling with it.
Absolutely. I mean, that I attribute a lot to that. Just there's a lot of other things that we can run into that can definitely get us, off our game. But again, like we're here to have fun and do a job, and it's great when you can have fun and be with the people at work that make you happy and you work great with. I mean, that's the sort of job you want to look for, right? And I found that at Teradata, thankfully. But that's what you only have one life to live, so you might as well enjoy what you're doing.
It's interesting, those conversations you're having with your dad at a young age where he was sharing real problems, and it sounds like pretty open and transparent with you. I think sometimes we think kids, they don't understand, they're not going to be interested in this, but it was kind of the opposite for you. It was the spark that ignited the career, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say he's a little bit of a introvert sometimes. And so we'd steer away from the emotional side of the conversation. So it was real easy for him to go deep on the business and the analytical side.
That's how you guys bonded.
That's how we bonded. And still, like I said today, like when we'd go play golf, we'd be just talking business. And it's always business stuff. Even today, like I got all like my emotional side from my mother. So, but I did get, since we're talking about work here, right? Like that sort of, it was a good balance that I got from my parents, but my dad definitely got me sparked into, fixing problems and dealing with people and dealing with system issues, et cetera.
Well, let's transition then into the business. You have a phenomenal job right now heading RevOps at an international corporation, massive. I know that you have a respected spot in the C-suite. People listen to you when you talk. It wasn't always like this, though. I know it was a journey for you to get where you are today. If you could share maybe an inflection point in your career, something that set the trajectory that ultimately landed where you are, what would that inflection point be?
I'd probably say it was probably Tableau software when I was there quite a few years ago, over 10 years ago now. Tableau, as you probably know, they were ahead of its time from a visual analytics standpoint, right? Like the mission of Tableau is to help people see and understand data. I was hired as the first sales operations guy. There's nobody else, right? We were about 400 some odd employees, about $100 million at that point in time. And over the next 4 years, I grew that team to be probably around 100, and then and we grew the business to right under $900 million over a 4-year period. And the speed at which you need to make decisions and prioritize what you're working on changes you. It really, and I also took a course when I was working there at Wharton School of Business. It was like an executive education course. It's called the Strategic Decision-Making Process. And it was really interesting. One of the exercises they had you do was think, they gave us like 10 questions that they wanted you to be able to answer correctly within a threshold. So if they said, how many miles is it to the moon? Make sure that when you answer that question, the low end and the high end, that the answer will stand in the middle. That will be right or be somewhere in the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was like, okay, so you can truly think about what is the risk or the reward of whatever challenge you're dealing with. You can put bounds on it and know that you can feel comfortable within those bounds. And we were given 10 questions. It was things like, what's the distance to the moon? How much sand particles are on Siesta Key Beach? Things like that. And they obviously had the answers. They might not have the answers to Siesta Key Beach, but that was just an example. And the average amount that people got right was 40%. When you were able as a human to set the bounds, And so it really taught you when you're dealing with these sorts of problems that you need to feel comfortable that you understand the threshold of risk in a challenge that you're dealing with to be able to make fast decisions. Mm-hmm. And I was able to apply that to a lot of the things that we were doing at Tableau because of the speed. I mean, we were hiring 50 new sales reps every 4 to 5 weeks, right? Just to churn them on. We had managers trying to enable sales reps that had been here for 2 or 3 weeks more than them. So I really learned not only how to make quick decisions, how to determine risk and maybe not get alignment right away, because it's, the whole startup mentality. But like, I feel like that whole moment and that whole opportunity to be part of that speed just completely changed my perspective on how you do things, how you prioritize things, how you set strategy, and the importance of strategy too, and planning. Mm-hmm. And I had some really tough bosses in the C-suite there, and their expectations and their standards were very high when it came to planning, because if you're moving at such a clip, small accidents or errors in your planning result in many, many, many tens of millions of dollars of missed opportunity or overspend because of that speed. So we definitely took the time to plan more effectively so that when we were going at that over 100% in the 9-figure range growth, we were capturing every bit of opportunity and growth we could.
So that idea of moving fast, but also being accurate, what's the secret to that? What kind of advice would you give to someone that's in that kind of a high velocity environment, but still needs to nail the quality of the things they're doing?
Well, that goes back to that whole kind of risk threshold, right? Things that are not going to sink the company, those are the ones you can make quick decisions and not worry about. Mm-hmm. It's the things that are really going to make a difference where you have to attack it. I used to drive to work many, many years ago, it seems now, I listened to this podcast. It was by the LinkedIn founder. It was the it's going to drive
Hoffman blitz scaling.
No, close. It'll come to me later. But one of the episodes was about let fires burn, and it was talking about how in a startup environment with all these things going on, there's so many fires that are happening, right? There's so many things you can work on. You can get so diluted you don't know where to focus your time. And the key way of figuring out where to focus your time, where to put the detail, is to understand where those fires that are going to burn the company down are. Right? Whether it's like the planning thing that I was talking about, or there's a major erosion issue, like go attack those things with high quality, and you're just going to have to let the other fires burn, even if people are complaining about it, right? Because there's always going to be fires that people are going to complain about, but if you can really like we're going to attack these 3 fires and that's it, and getting your team behind that, you're going to be a lot more successful than saying like, oh, let's go attack these 15 fires or these 30 fires, and we have to fix them all or we're going to be dead. Like prioritization is so critical. And I think that works very closely to that detail question you have, like the higher priority, the higher risk, the higher detail you're going to need to put into it.
I think that's where experienced leaders really add value. They're able to assess the landscape and say, that's a fire that's going to burn the house down. That's a fire you could let it burn. Earlier in the career, I think we have, especially if you're a go-getter, you want to attack everything and put equal amounts of energy. But that's what comes with seasoned experiences. You know where you need to really lean in versus where you can kind of, let things go for a while.
Yeah, totally. And having a good personal workflow yourself. There's a book that I read a million years ago when I got my first VP title called Getting Things Done by David Allen.
Oh yeah.
Heard of it? Oh yeah.
GTD. I
have created my own ecosystem world of that for just me. I've had to refine it over the decade and a half that I've been using it, but that kept me able to keep my head on straight and know where everything is going on. And also I've embedded my personal life into it.
Yeah.
So I don't drop balls.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife may differ with that comment, but I feel like I don't drop many balls in all those areas.
You're still gainfully employed. The children are healthy. It looks like it's working pretty well.
So far, so good.
Great book, and would recommend it to anybody. That idea of the personal management system is critical. All right. Last question. This is the secret sauce question. Evan Randall, what is the thing that he has created, a framework, a process, an approach that you find delivers outsized results?
Oh, gosh.
No pressure.
Yeah. Can we edit out the delay of me processing this? That delivers outsides. I think there's two pieces to this. And I think I hope this doesn't sound hackneyed or leadership 101, but for me, being in a revenue operations role, we are at the center of everything. Absolutely everything. And I'm going to go on a tangent after I answer your question just a little bit on a personal agenda item. But being able to build relationships with the people that matter in that web that you're the center of as a revenue operations leader, not just getting to know them and understanding their motivations and what they're trying to do from a goal perspective, but also being able to deliver a quick win for them and give them success, show them success, that you're willing to trade, to have a little bit of quid pro quo, that that you will make sure they're successful if they help you be successful, and being willing to give way more before you expect to get anything back from all those people in the world. And that's how I have found that to be so critical in every single role I've had to come into from a revenue operations perspective, because I am at the center of everything. Right? Something that this is going to sound so simple, but when I got to Teradata, the current CMO was like, I have no idea what my return per lead is. Like I can't even get a proxy on that. Something as simply as just linking a contact to a lead. This is, simple Salesforce stuff. Like, linking a lead to an opportunity, right? And I was like, you know what? I'll just make that a requirement, and we'll just do it moving forward. And we'll just let the sales team know. Easy, quick win. Not a huge killer for the sales team. And, we're going to have AI doing this for us anyway. But then 5 years ago, that was a quick win. I was like, oh, thank God, right? Like I'm starting to get some data. And, just making something mandatory in the system that didn't really add much pain. Doing those sorts of quick wins around the organization built that trust and that credibility. One of the other things I think I have it here, and I love this when I went through it, and I use a lot of the philosophies even before I got trained on it. But it's the speed of trust by Franklin Covey, and building that credibility through integrity, intent, your own capabilities, and then showing results, right? Being able to do that will make you a amazingly more productive leader than anything else. You could be the most brilliant person in the room, but if you have not built those relationships and curated those relationships and ensured that you have that credibility, that you have that trust with the people around you, you're never going to get anything done.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Holly Proctor. She's the president over at Franklin Covey. Free advertising. We're going to get her on the show next. I love it.
There you go.
All right. The great piece of advice. And, it's interesting. So many times when I ask this question, I anticipate someone's going to lay out a framework, a process, and it always comes back to the relationship building and the strength
work with people.
Yeah.
Work with people.
Yeah.
Can I say one other thing that I'm really interested about?
All right. Let it rip.
One more thing that I want people to think about.
Okay.
So you RevOps guys out there, I believe, and I've also been doing some research on this. Recently, lots of PE and VC firms are starting to look at revenue operations and strategy leaders as a future profile for the chief revenue officer. Because a lot of times the CEOs say, hey, I need a CRO to some recruitment firm out there, right? Like, go get me a CRO. But that CRO is going to need a really good RevOps guy to support him, or they based on the profile. And it's starting to get to the point like, well, if you need a RevOps guy to support the CRO, if he's already doing the job, why not just hire the RevOps CR as the CRO with the strategy and the systems background, especially with all this AI and complexity. We're moving more towards the science of the sale rather than the art of the sale. There's still art, but that art can be done by theater leaders that report to the CRO, who is now the profile of a strategic architect and an operations leader. So I believe that AI has helped this renaissance come this direction, and I'm hearing it more and more on a regular basis. And I'm to the point where I feel like I want to write a blog about it. But I think people should start thinking about this from a revenue operations discipline perspective, that the CRO is going to change a lot. And if CROs don't change and they're kind of that traditional fundamental, like, hey, I'm a closer at all costs, I'm going to run the business, I'm a sales guy, right? And not be able to expand in that strategic aspects, all your system stacks and AI and all those complexities, you're going to fall behind. So I think this is the renaissance for our discipline.
All right, you heard it here first. Richard Peatley, CRO of Teradata, better be looking over his shoulder. Evan's gunning for his job.
No.
I'm going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You guys have a great relationship. I know you're the dynamic duo. So definitely the Pistons are firing there. Evan, great conversation. Wonderful insights. Thanks so much for sharing all of this with all of us.
Happy to do it. And thanks for inviting me.
You've been listening to Revenue Mavericks, sponsored by Teradata. Teradata is the AI-native revenue operating system that Revenue Mavericks count on to increase forecasting precision and sales productivity. Follow Teradata on LinkedIn for new episode drops and updates. Thanks for listening.